only real closure there is accepting the fact that a season has ended. And you find healing in making sure your love for you does not. You desiring closure is what's inhibiting the healing process.
Really?
Message!
All right, Adult Swim, I see you. You clearly got something to say. Let's speak on it. There's this belief among folks when it comes to comedy. Some genuinely believe that we should be able to laugh at just about anything, including death, pain, suffering, all that cool stuff. Now, of course, this belief can be harmless when applied properly, but dumbasses take things too far, often throwing bigotry into the mix of serious issues. A lot of time it's black issues in which they're taking away seriousness from it. You got a lot of bad jokes from bad comedians that think taking a piss out of somebody's suffering equals funny by default. Like the belief that all comedy comes from some form of misery, which can be true, but there's limits to it. You don't laugh at someone if it's a real problem they're dealing with that's outside of their control. Better to punch up than to punch down. Not to speak holier than thou, I've laughed at plenty of miserable incidents. But usually when enough time has passed and the right lessons have been learned after misery is felt, comedy can be an important message. Oh My God Yes takes black pain and makes you laugh hard at it.
Is this nigga serious?
In a good way.
Let the hair growing out of the crack of your ass be a lesson in what happens when we refuse to let go.
Oh My God Yes, a series of extremely relatable circumstances.
You said a mouthful.
It's a new Adult Swim show created by Adele Supreme Williams, and I'd be lying if I said it didn't give off heavy Aqua Teen Hunger Force vibes. From the randomness of the futuristic LA, to rapping spiders, to random explosions, to Tupac worshipping robots that want to eat the rich.
Man, what the fuck?
Oh, come on, you know there's probably one episode like that in Aqua Teen. A typical episode of this show tends to fly off the handle, usually from something unrelated to the main characters. 1 minute the characters are balling in the club, 2 seconds later they're fighting man-eating robots led by one with Keith David's voice.
What?
Yes, these are the same Tupac worshippers if you were asking. Even the main trio shares some similarities to the Hunger Force team, save for the obvious differences. The difference is that the ladies are black. Sunny's the chaotic one and master shake of the group, Lottie the responsible hard ass of the group in the Frylock, and Tulip the loopy one who is more like the meatwad, but if he was more of a flower child if anything. They've known each other since they were kids. Now I draw the comparison to Aqua Teen, but that's more in the randomness and chaos of the comedy.
It's like a sexy gateway drug.
Speaking of sexy, I Need Someone Sexy and Special to host the annual Single Sexy and Special Valentine's Day extravaganza, and you're it.
Oh my.
It's far different from the #1 team in the hoods, from the style to the characters to the fact that it actually has some sense. With all the insane things that happen in the show, they actually get across some real points. There's even some tension through the season between Sunny and Lottie, with Lottie not crying at Sunny's mom's funeral. Someone who raised all three of them and took care of them in their most vulnerable of time. It all comes to a head in the finale, hopefully only a season finale, because we need more of this show, please y'all, but I'll get more into that later. The ladies are a fun group that show why the greatest things comes in threes. Sunny's overly chaotic lifestyle brings problems to Tulip and Lottie. Sunny tends to do whatever she wants with no real regards for others. It's pretty funny with just how much disregard she has for just plain decency. It's a level of selfishness that rivals Cartman. Though with Sunny, she actually is aware of what her problems and hangups are. She just ignores them in favor of having fun, like extorting tiger strippers for the laugh. Which respect to balling on a budget and refusing mental growth, all my niggas hate mental growth. It's like, nah, if you can get some therapy, please, at the very least go outside and talk to someone unless you want to be like Sunny. She's a perfect case of someone who just shirks her responsibility and leans on her homegirls to keep her grounded. Or in her case, from going to prison.
Now, where's this really gorgeous baby that looks like me?
I decapitated it with your car, Sonny.
What? Why did you do that?
It was trying to end humankind.
Though, when I say she's like Master Shake, I mean it. The only big difference besides the obvious is that Sunny knows therapy talk, which is worse because she uses it to excuse all of her hangups. Shake would at least disrespect you enough to lie to you, but she'll tell you the truth and still be horrible.
I needed to stretch my knees. Come on deck. The upper room is calling you, girl.
Sonny, you're not dying. You're only turning 28 for crying out loud.
I am. dying.
Gotta respect a bad bitch that loves being bad. In the words of Brie Animator,
I support women's rights and women's wrongs.
check out Brie and Wayman's new podcast, Keeping You Animated, updates monthly. Also check out the 3 tomes made by Brie Animator. Sunny pretty much is that one friend who uses their mental disorders and bad upbringings as an excuse, throwing therapy talk back at you when in reality you're supposed to use that to recognize your problems to fix them. She's the chaotic broken queen nobody needed but they still want. Or she thinks people want.
I am the righteous hand on man's downfall.
Why, you disrespectful piece of shit!
But if Sunny was mentally stable, then she wouldn't need Lottie. Lottie is full on the no-nonsense and violent one of the group. She keeps a cold demeanor most of the time and gets shit done. She works as the muscle that is the sane one of the group. Most of the time.
What do you want me to do this time? Blow up her car? Inject her with serum that makes her fart confetti?
She protects everyone since she pretty much doesn't take crap from anybody, which is, let's be honest, that's what this group really needs. Let's face it, if Sunny was in charge, everyone would be dead by now. Or probably homeless. There's semi-unspoken drama between her and Sunny, with Lottie being so reserved and not crying at Sunny's mom. It does end up driving a wedge between all 3 of them, which adds a complexity to this reckless group of friends. Lottie is a great case of getting lost in your mission that you forget why you're on it in the first place. You know, like that one Tums commercial.
Whenever heartburn strikes, get fast relief with Tums. It's time to love food back. That was incredibly inappropriate.
Tulip is basically the emotionally all over the place one of the group. She tends to fall hard into relationships and doesn't handle it well when things go south. Or in some cases, she thinks it's going south.
Just calling to say hey, and I love to talk. Or whatever. No biggie. Okay, talk soon. Love you, bye.
Love you, bye.
I would have killed you if I knew you loved brooms.
What the hell? Oh, no.
She tends to get lost in her feelings and think the worst when it comes to the ends of her relationships, usually making her spiral and make bad choices when she's feeling low. Her low is being falling for a deadbeat failed rapper Spider. Nigga was such a deadbeat, he abandoned his niece when all he had to do was just babysit. Like, damn, Spider niggas ain't shit. Tulip pretty much is that lax friend that helps the group think a bit differently about how they do things. She helps balance down the chaos between them. She's just someone who's moving to the tune of her own beat. Which, to be honest, all 3 of them are kind of moving like that, but they work well together to balance out the beat and make an actual harmonic rhythm, even if it's a bit of a chaotic rhythm.
Whatever floats your boat, ugly man.
We don't need your help.
Oh, trust me. Yeah, do.
Nope. We change our minds, ugly. Leave the grub and kick. Whoa, 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 whoa!
It all helps balance out all the chaos between them, which makes them all work well for each other, especially with the fact that they all apparently have degrees in therapy. And judging from the creator herself, that was the true intent.
Is I make fun is the priority. Fun and funny. You know, I'll pitch a very mundane, again, to your point, evergreen issue. The editing phase is place what the writers have done and what I have done. Try to mirror with that blueprint to make sure we have that Aesop's fables, you know, sort of like the moral of the story at the end, like kind of making sure everything comes full closure and making sure that the idea and the commentary on like the psychological and like dimensional effects of what we're talking about are present.
Check out more of that interview on Tariq's channel. You know he's really carrying the cartoon community lately, just like he carried with his Scoob video.
Nothing. Alright then.
If you like school so much, how'd you end?
Oh right, this was before the crash out. Anywho, the show got its start as a series of webcomics on Adele's socials. She then made it into a YouTube series that got pushed into a full series at Adult Swim. It just goes to show, start that webcomic now because it can take you some places, which is one of the ways that makes the series important. Another being, it's the first Adult Swim series made by a black woman. From the interview, Adele mentions the emotional and physical struggles of the black community, especially our generational pain passed down by our parents and their parents all the way to the ancestors who suffer from slavery, wanting the show to be a reflection of that pain while adding aspirations, making it so that the show recognizes our pain but offers solutions or a new way of thinking to our problems. Which the show acts as a vehicle for black trauma to be laughed at, but not in the way that you would think. first time black people got to animate us on our own merit, so of course the crew went all out. My biggest contention with Maya is she comes across too Disney princessy.
Yeah. What the? All of a sudden, you thought this was just boxing? Nah, superpowers.
It taught me the invaluable lesson: trust no one. If it wasn't for her, I'd be more vulnerable.
Oh my God, this shit ain't deep. You're just hurt.
There's stuff from our generational pain put on display, but in more of a laugh with rather than at kind of way. To laugh at it more as a sense of triumph through the BS we went through. There's jokes about fathers not being present, either through personal failings or in most cases systemic problems, though in this one it's just a matter of the nigga was just down the street and they just missed each other. Like in episode 5 where a robot friend of Sonny named Jamal connects with his estranged father/creator, even though he was right down the street, just working at the garage where he created him. Now, to be fair to Jamal's father, he actually does try filling in the gaps left by those years of estrangement. He does go out of his way to praise his son and show that he's proud of him, and even taking him fishing and all that good stuff. We respect fathers that step up or try to do right. That's all that really matters. The show even addresses staying with somebody just because they tolerate you. There's lacking responsibility due to trauma dealt by our parents. The show makes it clear that our trauma is still going on, but we're able to recognize it and grow from it. The heavy use of therapy talk helps to drive home the points. Now, your mileage may vary depending on how dense you are. I mean, on whether you're okay with the message being made more clear. Considering how satire failed to get people to realize that Nazism is bad, I think we're past subtlety being needed right now.
People need reminding. There's nothing cool about being a Nazi.
Honestly, I like that we can give a vocabulary to black folk that might not know how to communicate these certain internal problems. It does allow for better communication between people, especially different generations. But at the same time, y'all gotta learn to say fuck sometimes. The hard academia essay dialect wasn't really meant for casual conversations, y'all. It was usually meant for just your essays and your professors, you know? In a real conversation, you talk dirty sometimes. You say fuck. You say a curse word. Come on now. You gotta spit real shit to people in a real way while retaining the important knowledge you want people to have. Which honestly is how this show operates.
What it look like, bitch?
You get deep introspections about these characters as they blow up, curse, drink, destroy, and hump their way through this crazy world. It all comes to a head when we reach the finale of the season. This season for the show is only about 7 episodes long, but they're very strong episodes in general that leave a lasting impression. The final episode of the season goes over the main wedge between the trio, that being Sonny being hurt by Lottie not saying anything at her mother's funeral and not even showing much emotion. It's something that Sonny has learned to come to grips with, but at the same time, it does eat at you to think, wow, what do you really think? You're just leaving those emotions just unsaid. The setup for this episode is crazy enough, with the gang getting captured and chained up on a game show hosted by a pair of Steve Harvey teeth.
I'm gonna go lie down.
Don't ask. But it acts as a way for Sonny to actually be vulnerable and admit what's been hurting her with her friendship with Tulip and Lottie. It works as a way for the girls to finally have closure on the problems between them since they're forced to air out their grievances. In the end, they receive a final message from Sonny's mother, who raised them all after all the chaos is said and done. She takes it upon herself to recognize her shortcomings in her parentage and how they negatively affected all of them.
I'm also sorry I wasn't present as I should have been, and that I didn't teach you that you can be confident and insecure at the same time.
Many black parents sadly weren't the best at teaching their kids emotions and how to handle them. Sadly, due to a lot of parents being taught that materials are all that matter in family due to a capitalist system, but that's an argument for another time. Anyway, that gives Lottie the ability to finally let out those bottled up feelings.
Don't be so afraid to show people how much you care. Soften the edges a little bit.
It's what many black folk want to have in family relationships. Not just recognition at the pain, but allowing space to grow from it. A space to cry about it. Many young black folk understand the struggles of our parents and grandparents and beyond that, but at the same time, only the lessons needed to be passed down, not the pain. A lot of our parents went through beatings, drugs, poverty, the government, drugs given by the government arresting them for the drugs they planted.
Ow!
How many times have I told you, you better not even dream about telling white folk the truth?
Sorry, I knew. Overstep. We owe gratitude to the folks who endured the worst pains before us and did what they could to prevent it from affecting us and our kids. The people who were willing to march out in the streets and fight for the rights that we have right now that sadly are under attack. Ugh. But also the older generation needs to recognize their suffering left scars that they ignored for far too long. And it affected their loved ones too. It's not to say we blame you, but it's to say, hey, you did mess up some places, and we just want you to recognize it. Especially since many older folk did have the philosophy they wanted better for their kids. The good news is that they are remembering that and making amends. I've been seeing and hearing it become more and more normalized for black folks to open up more. More black people, young and old, are thankfully taking steps to get mental help they need. Be it getting therapy or conversing in the community more or learning new perspectives on things so we don't fall to bigotry. Even our generational pain is being more understood so we don't pass it down. This show, if anything, feels like a victory lap for those that suffered or are still working to get better, acknowledging the struggle while saying you're getting better. I think that's something we need to recognize, is that we are making progress. It may be slow, it may feel like it's being reversed, but at the same time, it's like, it's our progress we're making, it's our journey, and we don't have to go back ever. You know, we just keep growing and getting better and better. I think that's something we should always be willing to remember.
Even the things that may not make you laugh, the things that are stupid, or the things that have you crying, tears of laughter, everything is for a reason. Everything is very on the nose, because as much as I wanted my writers to focus on the funny and the fun, my North Star was purpose. Like, my North Star was message. My North Star was like the undercurrent, like the in between the lines of whatever's being said, and making sure everything, like no moment was wasted. And of course you do have some like really silly moments that aren't wasted. Like when, the baker is talking about how he had to like kill his dog because he read his recipe journal. Like, that has nothing to do with closure. That's just being a psychopath, But...
Right. Now, to get back to it, the episode wraps up the emotional train with Lottie spending 9 days just letting out those repressed feelings. It's a great example of friends coming through for you when you're at your lowest. Friends should give each other time and space to let some feelings out when they're down. And when you're feeling better, they should still be ready with pizza and video games or ice cream or something, or whatever you fancy. Now, of course, you should want to get back up after you're grieving. You can't be down forever, and your friends got lives to live, just as well as yourself. It's not lost on me after Lottie finished crying that Sunny wanting to tell the community is a direct message to black folk, especially since most of the community they show is black, which is so perfectly fitting of a message that I think it's a good one to go out on. But that's just a thought.
And she survived, because true courage is being able to admit when you're afraid. And feeling weak doesn't have to be at the mercy of your strength. Stay wild, South Central. Anything you want to add, Lottie?
What the hell did you do that for?